Yay.
Hello. Thank you, everyone, for being patient. I had an issue.
Technical
Two heads are better
difficulties.
than one, so we figured it out.
Technology.
Technology's the worst, but it's the best. Okay.
It's worse
So,
than
how is everybody? Welcome to Women Empowering Women Ladies Night, where
all
we
are
look at
welcome.
these amazing ladies, past and present, and tune into them and bring them in and all kinds of stuff. So welcome, everybody. Hello, Andrea. Hello, Debbie.
Hi.
How are you? How are you doing, Andrea?
Doing well, thank you. I hope everybody else is feeling good and we're going to have an awesome week, right? As a collective.
Yes,
As a
we
collective.
are.
Do
We
it.
are. And I just have to say, Andrea, you look like an angel tonight.
I know
you.
that
You're
background
just
is
so-
gorgeous. And you're
Oh,
so pretty.
here we get it lined up so it's exactly.
Yeah.
Everything, the color and everything, you just look so angelic.
Angelic.
Thank you.
You're fooling everyone.
No, right? It's a total disguise.
And how are you, Debbie?
I'm doing good. And you can see I'm like revving today. I have Notorious RBG hat on. I have Regulate Dick Not Jane shirt on.
Yay.
I'm on it tonight, you guys.
I love that.
Feeling empowered. Feeling empowered.
Empowering women. So good. So I'm glad everyone's doing well. And I pick tonight because it's on my channel. It's all me. I get to pick. So I am excited about this because I felt like I kind of left it because I felt like I felt like there was something that wants to be talked about. What is it? And I just kept waiting and it was getting down to the wire. And I thought, is this ever going to happen? But then I started to get an image that I'll show you in a second. But I do want to warn everyone before I put this up that there is a swear word there. So if you are to revert your eyes but I thought it would be really fun because we've talked, last week we kind of talked about the women who had to, in history, who kind of had to or wanted to dress or live as men to do the things they wanted to do, to have the life they wanted to have and be themselves fully. And then the week before that, we talked about the divine feminine. And I kind of wanted to talk about this because I think it encompasses those things and more. So I'll put this up. I want to talk about the women of Gen Z.
Ooh, I love it. Oh, I just got chills on this.
This picture is the picture that came to mind. And she's flipping off SCOTUS. And that is Kellyanne Conway's daughter.
Oh.
And that is her boyfriend holding her up. And there is something about this picture I love. And I also think it is this voice of a new generation that is just not putting up with it. And I love how her boyfriend has her hoisted on his shoulders. He is holding her up for her to get her message across. I love it. I love this picture. And then down below, you've got little Greta talking to the United Nations. And then to the left, you've got these women in Iran who are Iran. The Gen Z women are the force behind what is happening right now in Iran, and the Gen Z men. But the Gen Z women really are pushing this forward. And so I just thought it would be very interesting to talk about the women of Gen Z, this new amazing generation coming up. And I got a few little things I wanted to read to you about this generation to tell you how different they are. So just so we're clear, Gen Z includes people born after 1997. So Cassie was 1998, so she's a Gen Z. They are the most racially diverse and educated generation of women in history, according to the Pew Research Center. The generation has endured war, terrorist attacks, gun violence, the Great Recession, and the global COVID-19 pandemic. As a result, they are resilient, and over 70% of them believe that their lives need to make a difference in the world. Consumer research explains how brands are authentically connected to the Gen Z women. So get this, they buy brands aligned with their personal values and are cost and quality conscious. They are the most diverse generation, as we said, in history, and they value equal rights and inclusivity. So it matters to them if they buy from a company that's run by women versus a company run by men. They are on track to be the most educated generation, and most aspire to be their own boss, which I found really interesting. 81% of them believe it is important for girls to receive a STEM education. 75% believe there needs to be more open dialogue about mental health. 72% believe it is important to buy environmentally friendly brands. 65% of them expect brands to take a stand on social issues and support local communities. 62% believe racial diversity is good for society. 59% believe forums and online profiles should include options other than man and woman. And then the last thing I'll talk about is just their definitions, how their definitions of wealth have changed in this generation. As approaches to money have shifted, so have the ideas of what it means to be wealthy. Compared to previous generations, Gen Zs are more likely to invest in experiences rather than possessions. Gen Z tends to prioritize a healthy work-life balance over receiving a high salary. Gen Z cares deeply about social issues and corporate responsibility, broadening the definition of wealth to include richness beyond monetary value. And then Gen Z, particularly women, are beginning to reshape the workplace. Gen Z women demand equality of pay and treatment, and they leave if they don't get it. So that's them. They're a force to be reckoned with, I think. Mm. And they have lived through things unlike any other generation, and they've seen things, and they've also, now they have seen the overturning or the crushing of Roe v. Wade. They're living through that. And so, yeah, I would really love to know what you guys pick up, what you get, and just what you think about these amazing ladies and people in the chat as well. I know that just knowing Cassie and knowing her friends and the people she went to school with, this is a different generation. They just think differently about things. They do not care about race stuff. They're past it. They don't care about gender stuff. They are past it. The things they care about are much bigger, and they involve more inclusivity. It's stuff like the environment and things like that.
And I think what you mean by they don't care, it just means it's not, they don't have the challenge, the issues.
No, it's
generations with being racist or being inclusive and like that.
Yeah, no, yeah, exactly. It's not even a thing for them.
Right. It's like, what?
It doesn't make any sense to them whatsoever to spend time on that stuff. They just don't get it. They have all kinds of friends from, and like they said, it's the most diverse generation. So, and I think even just growing up with the internet and having access to be able to play video games with a kid in Zimbabwe or a kid in India and know that, oh, they don't like their parents too. And they did, we all are very much the same. And I think being able to connect that way their whole lives with the whole world has been a huge thing it's been a huge tool to break down those walls of cultural diversity and race and even sex. You're online. I keep using gaming, but that's kind of the thing they do online all the time with each other. But playing with guys and girls and different,
Well,
cultures.
they've grown up in a global
languages.
community,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
we grew up, we didn't quite get that. We were still within our own
Right.
towns or countries or continents.
Very much isolated to
Yeah.
our communities that were pretty much built on, segregated
Yeah.
type of communities based on.
An exciting time for them to have the whole world grow up with the whole world right at their fingertips. Like, and as soon as that slide came in, when you introduced who it was, like when you're somewhere and it's really hot and awful and yucky, and then a cold breeze just comes in and just makes you feel like refreshed and feel good. That's what it felt like when that slide came in. I just felt that fresh air, that excitement of this generation. And I'm so excited that they feel empowered. They're not feeling distraught or down. They're fighting back.
Our
Right.
warriors. I
Yeah.
just kept hearing our little warriors. They're not little, but our
Yeah.
warriors.
It's exciting. It's and that lifts our sails too, right? Their energy can lift us and what we're doing.
I'm
Right.
also hearing truth sayers. They don't I forget the saying, but lying. They don't put up with liars. They're truth sayers. Like I think that even as children, they're like, very much, don't lie to me. That's not the truth. What are you trying to tell me that for? That's not true. Very much standing for truth in even the little things as children. So it was in them when they came in. Is what they're showing me here too.
Yeah, I think you're right, Debbie. I think they don't suffer fools.
That's it. There you go.
Okay. But yeah, I totally.
They don't suffer fools.
Right.
They don't suffer liars. They
right.
just don't lie to me. And that's why I was just the same reaction when you said who that was. What a great poster girl for that.
Right.
She didn't suffer her mother at all.
No.
Exactly. And she was one of the organizers of that particular march.
Wow.
And so that's the generation coming up. And and also to have, again, it just shows you how different the next generation is going to be. And again, I was so struck by what is important to them. And you can see it in some of the things you're seeing, how they've kind of had to change the way that they even have a home, right? We all grew up and before us, it was own your own home, you have to own your own home. That's the American dream. And they just don't think, you see it all the time. Van life. They're going around the country in a van. They're doing tiny houses. They have all these ways that they're thinking their way around these things to have a more fulfilled life in different ways, that it's not about the stuff. It's not about things. It's
Their
really
dream
about
is not our dream. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm like kind of jealous. What they'll be like, what it will be like for them when they hit 30, 40, 50, 60, what the difference it'll be compared to.
Be interesting to see.
Yeah.
And I do think that because of the priorities that they have that are so different, they will be the ones to bring in, at least in the United States, healthcare for all. Figuring out the homeless stuff that's going, all of the poverty things that are happening in the United States. It's going to be and the guns as well. I think it's going to be priorities. It's a priority shift.
Yeah, and I think that what helps that, Kim, is they don't think it's no longer that thought of us and them. It's all of us. It's not us versus them type of mentality.
Right.
And so when they look at a situation, it's not, oh, look at them. It's like, that's us, and here we, you know what I mean? So
Right.
I think that's helpful there too.
I think they also feel empowered, which is not something a lot of the generations before them felt or had the opportunity to feel. There's a different wavelength there. There's an empowerment, like you were saying, I matter, everything matters, we all matter together. It's a total different vibration that they have, which is fantastic, right?
Right.
Mhm.
Fantastic that they feel empowered. And like I'm sorry, I forget who said it. I think, was it Kelly or somebody said it's also the Gen Z boys as well. Of course,
Mhm.
yes.
Yes.
We acknowledge that.
Yeah, 100%.
They're in an environment now where their mothers are, like us, who are, women warriors and trying to do the fight. And now they're, brothers and, guys they go to school with or date are also on that wavelength, right? So they have, and probably their fathers too, a lot more of them are open-minded than generations past. So very exciting time for them. And they're just not having it. Like, look at Greta. She's not having it. Like, she's getting up there and she's saying it. I'm not having it. This is BS, and I'm calling it out.
Yes, they call it out. That's another thing. Between each other and people around them, they'll call it right on out.
It's wonderful.
It is.
Right. And I just heard they're not led by fear. They don't have, there's that fear factor is missing for them. And I think that maybe it's because the stakes are big. The stakes are they feel much bigger. So I think you're right. I think they're kind of more willing to just say it and just put it out on the line, because why not? But I'm hearing they just don't have the fears that a lot of maybe in other generations had about, especially women, about speaking up and saying what's
exactly
what is and that kind of thing.
That, and also you hear all the time, I never would have talked to my parents like that. You know what I mean? And you have these kids who really will speak their minds. And, a lot of people, like the older generations, might have a problem with that. But the thing is these, they're empowered to speak truth. And no one's going to stop them. And it's connected to that fear base. Most of us were brought up in fear. Everything had a string to fear about it. There was always some impending doom or something on the other end of everything that we did, whether it was not getting an A, if that was the way it was in your house, or if it was whatever it was always, it was always fear-based. These kids weren't raised in that fear-based home. It changed because then the next generation came and we're like, we're not going to raise our kids fear-based. So we're not going to be having all the threats and doing all that. And so you can see how that has kind of, helped the shift of kids come in like that.
I think that's true. And also that shift in kind of seeing the rise in spirituality rather than organized religion. Because I think organized religion has a lot of, at least I can speak for myself, has a lot of fear. It can have a lot of fear in it, and people react differently to it. But I think, especially if my particular church was a patriarchy. So women, they were seen as very different roles. And if you stepped outside of that, it wasn't
all those rules.
Made you feel apart from it. Yeah. So rules, exactly. And I love that C'est La Vie says, yes, they feel empowered, but the difference is they will not ask for anyone's permission. I think that's so
wonderful. Because look at all the women we've read on in the past who weren't allowed to speak at church or in their own house or to their, look at all that. And now we're seeing a difference. And I don't think the old school way of thinking, like you said, if like a Greta who's talking like that, oh, she shouldn't talk like that. Children are meant to be seen and not heard.
Yeah,
And
or any whatever it is. Yeah.
yeah,
Right.
forget it. Like, I want to hear what she has to say.
100%.
I want to hear what she has to say. I don't think she's breaking any rules. She's not acting any way she shouldn't be. She should be saying what she wants to say because it's getting attention and it can be looked at then. And
Yeah.
it's, these young girls linking arm in arm, like Debbie likes to say. It's awesome. And they're doing it globally. Like, imagine what our lives would have been like if when we were younger, we could talk to anyone all over the world and learn about everything all over the world. Much bigger view, right? Which they have. They have a much bigger view. And they are hearing about atrocities everywhere, to the environment, to people, to women, and they're not having it.
Right.
Like, it's a straight up, things are going to change.
And do you get the feeling, because I do, that they came in at a different vibration? They came
Yes.
in at a different vibration. That's what I feel too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think a lot of them chose to come here now because of the change that's coming. So you could call them star seeds or indigo children or whatever the verbiage is. I think a lot of them came here now for this, and they may have been, as we know, someone else in the past who wanted to make change.
Yeah, I had
just got
that
goosebumps.
yeah, I had that feeling at the beginning when she was talking. I'm like, oh, these people, yeah, this is a chosen time for them to come in from history. These people
with the purpose, right? They're coming in as warriors right out of the gate.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was going to put this up real quick. Mountain Dancer, look at the Women's March. That was a worldwide event. It is that linking, like you always talk about, Debbie, that linking arms with other women around the world. And we see that over and over again, where there's these marches on, on behalf of other people, other women or other cultures, as a worldwide thing. We're seeing more and more and more how we are all connected.
And that goes back to the feminine divine.
Yes.
That intuition, that empathy, that connectiveness, that nurturing. These young women are coming in strong with that vibration. And I hope, and it seems like the males of the generation too are tapping into that. Just like like you said, he's holding her on his shoulders, making sure she gets heard.
Yes, I love that.
A message about her body. Like, get lost, SCOTUS, right?
Yes.
And he's supporting this. He's,
Exactly. And
he's like, I gotcha. Let's do this.
Yeah, exactly. And I love too that you can't really see it because it's kind of, it's small in the picture, but he's got a peace sign on his shirt. And he's
with the tree of life on top.
He's really getting this message out, but he is raising her up, to get her message heard. And you're right. I mean, it's going to be the Gen Z men as well that help with this. I have to put this in. Oh, hello, John of New. It's like, men are welcome as well.
Yes, all are welcome.
Yes. All are welcome.
I mean, I'm sad that they have to do these things. I wish we were already there, but I'm excited to see that they're here and they've come in as warriors, like I said, right out of the gate. And I do believe a lot of them were here before and came in at this time. It's a big time right now on the global scale.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that they've also witnessed a lot of, our generation kind of witnesses too with, at least in the United States with Nixon, seeing that just blatant hypocrisy, injustice, that kind of thing. play out, but they've seen it 10 times that, right? Waiting for justice, and not seeing it. And then that also just blatant hypocrisy in our face, the gaslighting, all of that. They don't have the stomach for it, and they also will not put up with it. They're just done. They're done with it. You can feel that in just the way that Greta Thunberg talks. She was told basically by Trump when he was president to sit down and shut up, and she was like, "No, I'm not sitting down or shutting up, and everyone's listening to me." So
yeah, so
you.
I think some of the challenges they face, and that's what we can do in our generation as far as putting our intentions towards them, is a lot of times they will, because of their strong-mindedness and that I know what I'm doing, I know the track I'm on, that sometimes they miss the benefit of the connection of history and what we would be able to offer them. They're like a little bit. So that is a little bit of a challenge for them. So if they truly unite, the ability to unite with all of us, to everybody, I think that would really strengthen their side of the war. You know what I mean? So if there's any challenges there, it would be something like that. They can be very, what is the word? Dismissive, or there's another word, but it'll come. But so that can be, what is that word? Oh my gosh, it's super important here as well. In regards to, it's like the word dismissive. They're very passionate, but they also have this. And so if they could get rid of the dismissive part, or work through that dismissive part, it would help them even rise stronger. It rhymes with empathic. I can't grab the word, you guys. It's so great.
Anyway. Apathetic or
apathetic. Thank you.
Is that it? Okay.
Kim's like, I'm trying to.
No, like what? Are you
trying? Yes. Say the word again.
Apathetic.
Apathetic. Yes, apathetic know-it-alls. That's the challenge. Yeah. So that's where we can be praying for them.
Yeah, we can always learn from the ones that were before us. Even if we don't like what happened, we can still learn from that time.
So you have those who are getting to the streets, and then you have a big majority of them who are doing the apathetic know-it-alls. But again, look at the challenges they face. You read off the whole list, Kim, of what that generation came in with. Of course, a lot of people, that's how they're going to just shut down to it. And so you have that dichotomy in the same generation. So you have the ones who are like, yeah, we're getting out, we're speaking out. But then you have the ones who are going, doing this. So there's a yin yang there with that, with it. Have you noticed that, Kim?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
They're not going to stop. Those
don't stop. Good.
They're coming in. They're blowing the horn.
Blowing the horn.
They're not going to stop until it's right. Nothing's going to stop them. So they're going to fight the fight.
Good.
And that horn, speaking up, having your voice heard. Not like you said, not shutting up, not shutting down. And I did want to ask about this question. So c'est la vie, you're on a roll. I've noticed that many of them are empaths and they are suffering tremendously. They're fighting for their lives. So can we look into, I thought it might be interesting to look into the abilities that are going to be coming in with this generation. Because I did feel like I know, what I could really talk about my own experience, but I know Cassie's definitely an empath and has abilities. And they've helped her in a lot of different situations, and from picking friends to knowing which way to go in her life, that kind of thing. So
well, I think they have a lot of gifts, and they're in a space where you're allowed to explore it. It's not the Salem witch trials anymore. So, and
right.
even us in our generation, kind of didn't really talk about it maybe too much, that you were psychic, but now we do. Now we're tooting the horn on YouTube. So I feel like they do have the gifts. They'll connect easier to them. They're definitely empaths. And I think a lot of them are very old souls who have been around and know what's what and what should be what.
And look what shows they have. Look what, the all the TV shows and movies and so forth, there's just a billion of choices of people with abilities of some sort or another, but it's becoming mainstream is what I'm saying. And so for them, it's like, no question. And generations before, like you said, Andrea, it's not the witch trials and it's not the fundamental, the belief systems that are overwhelmingly what is the narrative right now.
They're here to heal. So they're going to come in. Their gifts are going to activate, or if they haven't already. This is a healing generation coming in to correct the wrongs. So empathy, that would be probably one of their strongest. They just need to learn how to wrangle it. And that's something we can help teach, right?
Yes, exactly.
We each had to learn how to handle empathy.
I just got chills when you said that, Andrea, because there is something about the healing. You're right. That they're here to help us heal, and help us heal on many different levels, help heal the earth and help heal divides and help heal, past grievances and things that we didn't deal with before.
And bring things into more balance. Like we've been talking about, it's been too one-sided, and now they're coming in by force, many of them.
Right.
And I'm hearing with this, with this age of Aquarius, coming in with this age of Aquarius, where we can no longer hide things under the carpet, like we've been talking about. All three of us have been saying that for years now. That things are no longer able to be hidden, and they're part of being the showing with the flashlight, calling it out. You can, and their energy, they brought that energy in. So part of it is their energy just bringing in, and that's partly why even just their frequency is in sync with the age we're in, that won't allow this stuff to be hidden anymore.
Right. And some people are mentioning that their sons are empaths. A lot of these people's sons are empaths. Jonathan says, when my son was 6, he told me God is in everything and everyone, and we control the God part inside us. 6 years old. Yes. I think the new ones are definitely wired differently. Yeah. Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Sure. And imagine the children. I got goosebumps. Imagine the children they have, and the world that their children come into and help change.
And
continue the.
Yes. And that's what I'm looking at my grandchildren.
Goosebumps.
Yeah.
And I can't. The energy that they're coming in, it's just amazing. And so this is good news for our planet. It's the energy they're coming in with. This is interesting. We don't have to go this direction, but I kind of, when I was tapping in and kind of listening to spirit of like, what messages would you like to say in regards to this? I had someone pop in, and she said her name, she was referred to as Mama Rosa. And so I thought that was interesting. And so I looked it up, and there was someone who, and her name was Rosa Fabri, and she lived in 1866 to 1932. She had like 9 children, and she adopted 2 other ones. But her main thing here was she was very much uh, uh, charity, and especially towards orphans of World War I and so forth. But she was, because we were talking about this generation, and that's who they brought in. So I don't know what message she would bring in, but here we have this example of this energy who was all about the kids, all about the kids and the children. And when I asked her a little bit, I'm like, okay, I don't know if this is the direction we want to go with this, but she said, we really have to focus our energy on the children, because again, that is the future. And as these children come in each generation, it's opening the door to the next part, because you're always evolution is continuous, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's important to save the children, look to the children. So that's kind of what I was getting. I don't know if you want to talk to her or if you're getting anything. Mama Rosa. And I didn't. Yeah, I don't know. We don't have to if we don't want to go that direction, but interesting.
Well, it's that concept of listening to the children instead of be quiet, right? Be quiet, sit in the corner. Children don't speak unless they're told to speak. You know, we all grew up like that. What about it? And when kids are born, they're tapped in so close. You know, they're very psychic when they're younger, and it gets shut down. What if we were talking to them more and hearing about things? Right? We have to change. And look, I was just thinking, as you were talking about Mama Rosa, I was thinking about when you see children who were put to work in coal mines and things like that in the past, orphans and it's just like, no. Children were used in the wrong way. Right?
Yes.
Well, and that's interesting because they just found, right, a bunch of kids that were working in meat packing plants recently, right? And and it's funny that it's interesting that you say that, because I feel like with Mama Rosa, one of the things she's bringing up are the shootings, and it's like you can't let these kids be taken off the earth because they have a job to do. And what I'm feeling is that when they leave, they're coming right back, because it's kind of like you're not going to stop this from happening. Yeah. But they're here to do something. So we need to keep them safe enough to do what they're here to do. So that's, to me, that's kind of what I feel like one of her messages is that's our job now, is just to keep them safe enough to stay here and do what they're supposed to do. And their job is to do what they're here to do, and come in and do. But our job is to try to keep them safe, and push where we need to push to keep them safe.
Yeah. Okay. Literally, she's crying. She's like, save the children. Save the children.
And on the day we've had another school shooting.
I know.
And and we've and Mississippi, we've got like all these disasters, and that we need to that's kind of our job right now, is to kind of try to push all the buttons and go where we need to go and do what we need to do to keep these kids safe, so that they can do what they're here to do.
They're going after the children next. I just heard it. Huckabee Sanders wants to allow kids to work in factories again.
How about she go work in a factory and get lost?
What are they doing? I don't even know I don't understand what they're even doing. Does anyone understand this agenda? Because I don't know what it is. I don't get it at all.
It's the opposite of agenda.
Who wants that?
It's opposite of to love.
It is.
In
It's the opposite of growth and love and all the good things.
It's all about money and cheap labor. It has nothing to, like you said, it has nothing to do with people, with love.
I still have Mama Rosa here, and she's still crying. Literally tears, crying for the children. So,
And this generation, Gen Z, I feel like is a generation that is willing to do without for the greater of the good. So if you told, I got goosebumps, if you told Gen Z, okay, no one can have cars anymore because it wrecks the planet, they'd be like, okay.
Yeah.
And they don't ride bikes or,
dude, okay.
You know, they'd be okay. Mm-hmm. They just figure out something else. Whereas, you know, our generations and above us was all about making money and getting those items and at any cost. Right. Whereas they're going to be like, no, that's fine. We don't need cars. We'll figure something else out.
Right.
So
right.
A different vibration, a different understanding, and a global realization.
They understand security so different than what we do.
Right.
Mm. And yeah, what a beautiful generation.
I know.
We have to save them, you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're saving us, but we have to also.
But what a concept to, Kim, your words are just ringing in my head. What a concept to give them the space and the protection to do what they need to do here. Like, I got full up goosebumps still. Think about that. Think about if we understood as a whole society that this group is coming in to save the world. And it doesn't matter that they're young. We've got to listen and protect them and give them the space to do what they need to do. Like, what a concept.
Right.
Like,
and have and there has to be, we've got to somehow break through this, whatever this is, this, I don't want to use the word evil because I just feel like that's letting them off the hook in a way, because it's just this awful human behavior, this terrible behavior of valuing stuff over people. And we've got to break through that somehow with this GOP. And it's not even the whole GOP. It's just this weird group that is just hell bent on destroying the environment to make a buck. Who cares what happens to kid to make a buck so the gun industry does well? Who cares? They just don't.
They don't care. They don't respect life.
And we've got to break through it. We've got to break through it somehow.
They don't care what happens to the planet next. Even if they have grandkids, they don't care. I guess they think maybe their grandkids will be rich and won't be touched by the damage. But that's not true.
That's just not true. They're a small minority. They really are. 80%, 90% of people want gun control. They won't do it. They're just this small little cabal. And there has to be some way we can just push them aside and just get shit done, because it's just ridiculous.
Oh, you guys, did you hear Mama
She's fired up?
She just cussed on channel.
Fired up. Well, I'm sorry, but I'm mad.
Well, it is. It's ridiculous. It's such a bizarre concept, certainly to us in this group here of like-minded people, to destroy people or the planet for greed and corruption. Like, what are you doing? Doesn't make sense. And this generation is coming in with it. Nope, we're going to change it up here.
Yeah. And the idea that we're all one. When you do something, when you allow, school shootings to happen, it is going to affect your kids, even if they are rich, because you know what? Today it was at a private school.
Sure
Eventually it's coming to your school. It's coming because we're all connected. It affects everybody. poverty. If people can't get health care, it affects everybody, right? It just does. And they don't seem to get it through their brains that is the truth. And this generation coming in, they seem to just know that inherently. We're all connected. And if this person's doing bad, I'm doing bad. This is not okay.
Yes. Yeah. They're also, I noticed too, they're not, they don't seem to be, have that need to be, have things.
Yes.
They're not connected to things.
Yeah, like they can do without.
Yeah, they can do without. They're not.
And that goes to van life or small living.
Exactly. I remember even Sierra's generation, which she's not Gen Z. She's before. She's in the 80s. But she started to teach me a little like that. Because when she moved out, and here I'm storing all her stuff and all these pictures and yearbooks and little things, that I had collected over the years. And I'm like, saving it. And she's like, why are you saving that? Like, I don't want any of that. I'm like, you don't want your yearbook? Nothing? No, I don't care. And I'm like, wow. It was the first time I started thinking, wow, how beautiful is that? Like, she's not she doesn't have a need for these to tell her about life. She was looking forward. She didn't need to look back. And we were always looking at our yearbooks or, all that's important, all these little things, memory things and stuff like that, because it I don't know, my generation, that those memories, they're for something very important to us for some reason, but for that generation, no. And that was the beginning of, it was before Gen Z, but you could see it starting to play out. And I find that very interesting, and it's continued on. And
right. And it may be too why they're finding alternative ways to live, right? The experience over the stuff. They want the experience of driving around, the country and taking a small little bit of stuff with them and really having that experience to
and I think that's brilliant.
Well, and this is the one that my daughter went out into the middle of nowhere and built an earth ship off the grid, literally a home out of nothing, off the grid. So had her babies, did all that. So 100%. Like, so they do these things that are very different than what I'm like. But of course, I'm not going to stop this beautiful way of living. I thought it was fascinating. It wouldn't be something I would choose. Teresa Ford loves earth ships. Yes, they're very cool. Research them, you guys. Type in earth ships. They're very cool. She no longer lives in the earth ship, but she did for a very long time. Years and years and years.
And I do feel like they're, because as you were saying that, Debbie, I started seeing about a bunch of like trees and forests and things, and I think that they're ushering into a different connection and relationship with nature that we kind of let go of because of since industrialization, really. But it seems like they may be ushering that back in, that more of a connection and cooperation and being in sync.
I like that word, cooperation. With
nature.
With nature,
that we kind of have, let go, kind of gotten away from.
Yeah. Of course, if you all are worried about me going to visit my daughter when she lived in the earth ship, I put a motorhome on the property. They were like,
you're like, I'm glad
I had a little grandma flat. Don't you worry about me, everyone. But yes, it was beautiful.
Yes, I'm glad that Yeah, she brought up, minimalism. Exactly.
Very much.
Yes,
Minimalist.
unity. I am a minimalist. The only things in my home I love, I only buy what I need. I also buy secondhand. Yeah,
Nice.
exactly.
Perfect. And that's what everybody's doing. I can't even, like the amount of understanding of clothing and what clothing is actually doing to the landfills and stuff like that is bringing attention to that. And you'll find like malls are shutting down. And
Right.
the secondhand stores are exploding.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, they're remarkable. And
This is an awesome topic. That was exciting to get into that energy.
I love it.
Well, thanks. Yeah. And like I said, that picture just came to mind. I'll put it up one more time so you can see it if you haven't seen it.
Yes.
That next generation.
There it is. There they are,
Kellyanne
guys.
Conway's daughter saying
Bring it on. Bring it on.
Yeah. And supported, being uplifted and supported by the men of that generation. And then these remarkable women in Iran, Greta, just this amazing, these fighters, right? They're going to be fighters, and they're going to fight for the right things, and we're going to protect them so they can do it.
Yes,
right?
that's our job. Mama Rosa,
yes, exactly.
protect them.
Exactly. That's our
Save
calling.
Because the opposite energy wants to squash them. That obviously.
Yes.
And so we need to be stronger than that opposition energy that's literally taking the children out.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So light a candle and say a prayer for the next generation tonight, maybe.
Amen.
And
Yes.
we'll all do it, and we'll all hold them in light so they can be protected and go forward and do what they are here to do. Yay.
Yes.
All right, family. So where are we next week?
I will be on my channel next Monday.
Yay.
Andrea's. So join us next week on Andrea's channel for another Women Empowering Women session on who knows what topics. Always a surprise now that we have switched it up a little bit, but it's always really fun.
Really fun.
Really fun. All right, everybody. Have a good night, everyone. Thanks for taking part in the conversation, and we'll see you guys next Monday.
Bye.
Bye.